Today, we will discuss about exchange rate policy and its impact on foreign trade. Okay, on international trade. Exchange rate. So, exchange rate policies and its impact to international trade, okay? Trade itself. So let's discuss what globalization is first, okay? You know what globalization is, right? It is interaction and integration, right? It's the process of interaction and integration among people, companies, and nations, right? So globalization is now spreading, yes? So people they are interacting with one another, they are integrating, okay, they are understanding each other more, they are becoming similar. And how does that process is usually achieved? Usually, mainly we have some components of globalization, right? The most important thing which is spreading globalization is international trade, okay? Trade. And investment. Trade and investment has very strong effect on globalization. So the way we dress now, it's mainly is Western type of clothing, okay, which is the process of that international trade. Okay, good. So look, regarding international trade, this important, for example, like, is very high because of the impact of trade. So now nations are getting richer and richer and richer. It gives opportunity for countries to practice their comparative and absolute advantages, right? So countries which has comparative advantage, if it's given for those countries to practice it, it usually reduces the cost of those production, yes? And it's good for all people. Countries which are, have absolute advantage, they can produce it with the lowest cost, right? And they can provide it for other countries with that, good prices. So everyone is better off, all right? So, and the process of trade and investment has very strong relationship with exchange rate, okay? Exchange rate. So because nations, they are going to trade with one another, which, most of them, they have different currencies, all right? So there is one very important factor to make this trade very easily, implemented, to be done, or the exchanges of goods and services to make it, very smooth and easy. There must be a very nice exchange rate system established, okay? For example, if you look at this data, okay, which that gives us data for 1960s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000. It shows the share of trade in GDP. And you can easily see for almost all countries, okay, the share of trade in their GDP has increased. Okay, it has increased for all countries. So which means that the importance of trade for their economies is growing. Okay? It's growing. And at the same time, investment for all those countries has increased. Why? Because now, today's technology is, easily available. Financial systems of the world is really nicely established today, okay? With one click, now we can do all of those transactions from our computers, okay? So now, that one. And there's the process of trade of this one has really direct effect of exchange rate, okay? So look, if exchange rate is so important, okay, because of its importance, so countries, they try to establish that international monetary system. And today we have that type of system, okay, now we are using US dollar, or, that euro, or some other currencies, as that we can peg our currency and trade with other countries, right? Some group of countries, they prefer US dollars, some euros, okay? So like this. But what about in the history, okay? the importance of that exchange rate goes to hundreds of years. Okay? And one of the first significant, works that has been done, okay? So nations, they established a monetary system. It was classical gold standard. About 150 years ago, okay, in 1870s, all right, group of advanced countries or developed countries, they just came together and they had some negotiations. So what was the behind of that one? They wanted to trade with one another properly. Okay? So many years ago. So for that purpose, they tried to establish a very nice exchange rate system. So they could trade easily. Okay? Before that one, the countries, they had always some problems. Okay? Exchanging. Whether that country may not prefer accepting their currency, or this country would not accept their currency. Or, for example, if they offering some kind of good for exchange of theirs, they may not like it. It was always a problem. So therefore, they established gold standard. What was the behind? So those member countries, okay, they pegged their currencies to gold. They made their currency convertible to gold. Okay? For example, British, they made their pound convertible to gold. Okay? Let's suppose, for example, if they want to buy 1 kilogram of gold, let's suppose, okay? So they could buy it for 10 pounds. Alright? They could go down to Central Bank of UK and bring that offer 10 pounds and they could get 1 kilogram of gold. Alright? And they made it. For Germans, for example, 15 German franc, okay, for 1 kilogram of gold. American, US dollar, okay, for let's say $20 per kilogram of gold. So now they could easily come up with exchange rate that way. Okay? So here, for example, let's suppose if it's the case, it's 2 Ks. Now 1 pound is equal to $2. Okay? So $2 per pound. $2 per pound. That way they were trading that. But and at the same time, because there is gold, right? In this system, they allow exchange rate to fluctuate within certain bands. All right. Let's suppose, okay, we were not a member of that gold standard. Let's suppose Uzbeks are one of those members. Okay? And to buy 1 kilogram of gold, okay, we could buy it for 100 soon. Let's suppose it was like this. Because we need for foreign currency like US dollar, right, in our market, okay? For which, if the central bank wants to keep that dollar reserves, right? What should they do? They have to bring gold to US, yes? Gold. And they have to buy American dollars in exchange, yes? In exchange, and bring it back home. Here, actually, 1 kilogram of gold, let's make it $10, okay? 1 kilogram of gold in Uzbekistan is 100 soon, okay? And 1 kilogram of gold in the United States is $10. They bring it and take it back. But if you consider, even though it's the case, there is some cost incurred in between. There is transportation cost, okay? So based on this transportation cost, this US dollar could get appreciated or depreciated. Okay? Let's say that cost was $20. If you would like to buy $10, so it would cost you 120 soon. It appreciated by $20 because of this cost. It was added. Okay? So it was this kind of system. But it was usually called, it was allowing practicing arbitrage. arbitrage. So what happened? For example, let's suppose in Uzbekistan, okay, central bank, okay, and Federal Reserve of the U.S., where in the United States 1 kilogram of gold is $10, and in Uzbekistan 1 kilogram of gold is 100 soon. Because of the transportation cost, now transportation cost is $20. 20 soon. Okay? $1. So here, if we consider $1 based on this one is equal to 10 soon, right? Soon. Because of this $20, it will become 12 soon, right? Or in other words, $10 is equal to 120 soon, yes? Okay. It's the case. So it is like this. Let's suppose, for example, in Uzbekistan today, when Hajj season comes close, where Uzbek people, usually from our country, right? So many people, they go for that pilgrimage, yes? What happens at that time? Dollar appreciates, yes? Because there is high demand for dollar. Because if they want to go to Saudi Arabia, they have to bring US dollars with them, not Uzbek soon, right? So because of that, thousands of people, immediate demand, okay? So therefore, it's immediately that, the prices increase, all right? Let's suppose that type of effect happens somehow, and as a result, US dollar appreciated, okay? Let's suppose that $10, okay, $10 appreciated to, and it turned out to be 220 soon. Okay, 220 soon. Now, which means that there was 10 soon more expensive, right? So it turned out to be like this. So look, some people, agents in the economy, after seeing that kind of depreciation of local currency and appreciation of foreign currency, they will be using it, taking it for granted. So what will they do? They will sell gold, convert into soon, okay? And let's suppose they come to central bank, okay? Central bank. They buy 2 kilograms of gold. All right? 2 kilograms of gold, which costs for them 200 soon, right? 200 soon. And they will take this 2 kilograms of gold. Let's suppose, of course, they will not take only 2 kilograms, right? Much, but let's suppose they are taking 2 kilograms to the United States, yes? Which transportation cost is 20 soons. If you know that the total cost is going to be 220, right? For that. So they will bring it, they will exchange that 2 kilograms of gold for $20. And they will bring this $20 to Uzbekistan. And in exchange market, they can sell it for 440 soon. Because it's exchange rate today. Yes? $10 is 220 soon. And $20 will be in terms of soon is 440 soon. And still it's high. What will happen? They will take this money they will rush to central bank again. They will buy 4.2 kilograms of gold and again to US. They will convert it into US dollars, $42. They will bring it back and they will sell it. This is 420 and $20 is for the cost of transportation. That way, that arbitrage system practice. Okay? But on the other hand, if that demand, because they are practicing that way, it's not profitable business, right? you are not producing anything, but because of this one now they're doing really good business, then there will be too much supply of US dollars to the economy, which will lead to depreciation of US dollars. It will start going down, okay? Going down, which means that it may even lead to even be less than this initial value. Let's suppose because of too much supply, it happened that $1 US, okay, was depreciated to 260 soons. It lost 60% of its value. What will happen in this case then? Vice versa will happen. So now, what will Uzbek people do? Because, you know, now they will start buying dollars, not gold. Exchange market, they will buy $20 for 180 soons. Okay, it was $1, so they will buy $20, and they know the transportation cost is 20 soon. They will bring this $20 to the United States, to its federal or central bank. They will buy for this one 2 kilograms of gold, and they will bring it back. And they will bring it back here, and they convert it into their soon, which is going to be 200 soons. For 200 soon, they are able to buy $50. They will bring it to the United States. Again, they will come into gold. They will bring it and again sell it. That type of arbitrage. Okay? Which means that because of appreciation, depreciation in the medium run, it's going to stabilize and adjust for one another. Okay? Good. Anyway, even though there was that type of arbitrage practicing, it was still good for trade. Okay? They were trading. They were trading. Nice. Okay. And overall, if you consider that, you know, it's self-regulating, it fixes itself, all right? First of all, when Uzbek soon becomes weak, okay? Then there will be high demand for foreign currency. It's the thing like today. If you see that, you know, it's our currency is, you know, losing its, you know, purchasing power, we immediately try to convert our sum into dollars, liquid currency, yes? Which will increase that demand. In golden standard, it raised the issue that outflow of gold, as I already explained, okay? All right, when gold, you know, leaves the country, okay, leaves the country, and you see that Uzbek soon is very weak, yes? Very weak. For this one, investors really care, okay? When investors invested into Uzbekistan, okay? $1 was equivalent to 12 soons. But after it turned out to be like, you know, $1 is now 22 soon. When they invested into Uzbekistan, they brought dollars, they converted into soons, then invested. Right? So now, because of this kind of fluctuation in exchange rate, right? So, you know, if they want to convert it into US dollars now, it will be, in terms of equivalent to it's much less. Which is really not, you know, encouraging for investors, which is very bad. So therefore, in order to avoid that type of pessimism of investors towards Uzbek economy, Uzbek government, they offer to increase interest rates. Interest rates. Why? If, let's say, if you are losing from exchange rate fluctuations, okay, that one, let's say, because of this kind of appreciation, depreciation, now those losses we can compensate with interest rates. Okay? Good. That. And it will increase that inflow of foreign and domestic portfolio will increase because of interest rate increase in the country. Okay? And then high interest rate, lower economic activity. High interest rates. Once in one country, interest rates are high, which means that in the United States, for its appreciation, it means that buying from those countries is very expensive. Okay? Expensive. And overall, this kind of process will be practiced. It's going to regulate itself. If it appreciates, it will be appreciated by other factors. Okay? Market itself will control. Okay? And for strong domestic currencies, completely vice versa will be practiced. So they have been implementing this one, all right? But when World War I started, okay, it was the end of golden standard regime. It was ending. Why? Because those countries, member countries, who established that golden standard, okay, they were all in war. They were fighting. Which means that in war, because you have to finance, right, all military, soldiers, whoever, usually if you are going to follow that kind of golden standard, it's impossible to finance. You cannot keep your exchange rate unchanged. So therefore they stopped gold standard. And all those countries, UK, Germany, and all other countries, they will start using their monetary policy, okay, printing money and financing the economy. So which led to high inflation in all countries. Okay? All countries. The price of gold in all countries increased because of inflation. Okay? After that one, what happened? After this price, that monetary policy implementing, once World War I finished, once economies of the world, they started slowly recovering, okay? Another problem happened, which happened, Great Depression, right? In late 1920s. Great Depression, which impacted global economy, okay? We started in the United States, and all other countries were suffering. Why? They were suffering because U.S. economy is too strong, and it has all networks, all right? And after that one, they were still not implementing that gold standard. But there is exception. For example, on the left-hand side is John Maynard Keynes, right? Great American economist, and Churchill, right? Churchill. He was a prime minister, right, during the war. But in 1920s, he was a chancellor of treasury, like in the United States, how do they call it? Secretary of Treasury, okay? He was like that, which means he was controlling it. Okay. So, Lord, in 1920s, okay, in 1920s, when economy started, slowly recovering, then Churchill, okay, he made the suggestion, now we have to again re-establish golden standard. Re-establish. In order to increase trade again, we have to re-establish. And what he was suggesting at that time, let's suppose before World War I, let's say 10 pounds could buy 1 kilogram of gold, let's suppose, okay? But in 1920s, 1 kilogram of gold was equivalent to 100 pounds. That much, inflation, 1 kilogram of gold. But Churchill said, now we have to make, that convertibility of pound equivalent to $10, 10 pounds to 1 kilogram, as it was previously. He was suggesting, we have to do it. We have to make our pound strong again. Once he made that type of, proposal, and it was actually implemented, Keynes immediately gave counter-argument. Okay? And he said, what if Mr. Churchill is going to implement this kind of policy, British economy is going to suffer very badly. It will be too bad for the UK. Why? Because they are making that British pound very strong, right? But making it strong, it means that those foreigners who could bring 1 kilogram of gold, let's say before 1920, they could buy 100 pounds, yes? And they could buy, let's say, 100 units of goods. But they are artificially making it equal to 10 pounds. Which means that foreigners, now, they are 10 times weaker to buy. They can buy 10 pounds and buy 10 units of goods. Okay? So which means that Winston Churchill, what he made was, he made British goods very expensive for other nations. As a result, it indeed happened. British economy was experiencing really strong recession. Okay? After that one, it is one reason why Keynes became very popular. There were a number of cases where Keynes, he was predicting if it happens this way, it will happen like this. Okay, he was giving that type of suggestions, and his suggestions were really indeed in practice finding its, proof. And it was what made him very famous. Okay? Good. Alright. It happened that golden standard regarding it did not work. Okay, good. That Great Depression started. Okay, Great Depression started. Then after that one, World War II. Right? World War II. Alright. After World War II, it was United States, right, which became the strongest country at that time. Right? While all other countries, they had economic recession. Let's suppose a country is under recession. If they want to recover from recession, what should they do?
Expansion.
They have to implement expansionary policy, right? They have to implement monetary policy. They have to implement fiscal policy. And there is one another way. Those countries, they try to devalue or depreciate their currencies. They try to artificially make currency weak. Okay? Weak. If they make their currency weak, it means that for foreigners buying from this country will be cheap. So as a result, then more people will be buying from that country under recession. If there is more demand for this good, this economy starts recovering. Okay, recovering. So therefore, at that time, panic type of time, countries, they were, depreciating their currency in order to gain their competitiveness gains. In order to become more competitive, they were depreciating their currencies. It was practiced among many countries, okay? So in order to find that solution for that type of practices, they established Bretton Woods agreement. They had a meeting, okay? Bretton Woods. United States, Canada, Western European countries, including Japan. Okay? Those country leaders, they had a meeting in Bretton Woods, Hampshire, in the United States. Okay? What was the purpose of that meeting? They were discussing about establishing new international monetary system. New. Golden standard is now, they were not willing to do it. Okay? But in that Bretton Woods, they agreed to make US dollar as international currency. Okay? Why did they specifically choose US dollar?
Because US has the most gold, right?
Yes, one reason was after World War II, US had 2/3 of the world gold reserves going to the United States. Okay? This is the most stable economy. So they made the US dollar as world currency. which means that all members, they peg their currency to US dollar. Okay? So for example, two pounds per US dollar, or 5 German francs per dollar. So like this, they will peg convertible. And at the same time, gold has, US dollar has gold value. Yes? If you had $35, you could come to central bank and buy 1 ounce of gold. It has that type of power. Not always. But if you bring, for example, pound, you are not able to buy it. In order to buy gold, first you have to buy dollar, then gold. So why did they do it? In order to re-establish trade. Okay? But, among those member countries, there were countries, strong economies like US. And there were some other European countries, okay, or Japan as well, okay, very weak countries too. You know that one tool of getting out of recession is devaluing the currency, yes? Devaluing the currency. But under this, the Bretton Woods Agreement, US dollar is world currency. It is called fixed exchange rate. Alright? Which means that at this one, depreciation of currency is not allowed. It must be fixed. It doesn't have to change. In some countries, in that meeting, they raised this question. Okay? So now, okay, let's make US dollar as world currency, right? World currency. And which means that we are going to strongly apply, follow the fixed exchange rate, which does not allow us to devalue our currency, right? In the recession time, it is one way to avoid recession. So there was answer was ready. So then the U.S. government, so all members, they said, okay, don't worry. If this country is going through recession, what is the medicine or cure for recession? Medicine. It's mine. Okay? If country is very rich, it doesn't matter what kind of recession is. If you would like to implement the fiscal policy or monetary policy, you need money. Okay? So therefore, in recession time, the problem is there is lack of money, which other countries are not willing to offer. Okay? So here, they said, so that we know that if it's recession time, you will go through those problems. Because of that one, at that time they were established 2 financial institutes, like IMF and World Bank. In 1944, why IMF was established? IMF was established because of this kind of cases. Let's suppose among these member countries, one country is experiencing economic recession, right? Where they need financial support. If it's IMF, they could apply to IMF and the problems could solve. On the other hand, that World Bank was established, for example, in those weak economies where financial institutions are not established properly, or in order to trade with one another, transportation is not properly established, okay, roads or whatever, World Bank could help them because it's development program, right? So those big institutions were established. And based on that Bretton Woods Agreement, trade has started. So those countries, they peg their currency to US dollar and they trading with one another. But in early 1970s, there was some speculation in the world, okay? Speculations had happened. So now some other countries, they were, bringing US dollars to US Federal Reserve, taking converting into gold and taking back. That type of things happen. So in early 1970s, okay, where in 1970, gold reserve of the United States was over 50% of world gold reserves, okay? It reduced to close to 20%. Okay? So much gold left US. And at that time, I think it was President Nixon, okay, Richard Nixon, the President of the United States, they see that, their gold reserves are, flying away. He said, temporarily, we are going to stop this regime, the Bretton Woods Agreement. They temporarily stopped and they will permanently stop. Otherwise, our gold reserve will not have any reserve left. And in 1971, it was the end of that Bretton Woods Agreement. Okay, it stopped. Fixed exchange rate based on that one stopped. But even though it happened, all right, because it was US dollar, where US dollar was used in all countries, by it get that popularity at that time. Okay?
What about the quantity of US dollar? Is it more than zero gold reserves?
How much to print that gold, that US dollars, there is strong conditions, okay? They have US dollars. They cannot, print it as they want. No, there are some strong regulations. They should, they follow those regulations. So once that happened after the collapse of Bretton Woods Agreement, that fixed effect exchange rate system, then all countries moved to fiat money. And after that point, all currency was trusted based on country's economy. If you believe that one economy is really strong economy, you also think that their currency is also very strong. So then after that one, you have a strong economy, the currency was really nice and good, British pound, it was like this, all right? Big economies, they had their own currency, which was not very strong, okay? Good. So once they moved to fiat money, all countries, they made the choice. Either to move to flexible exchange rate or to move to fixed exchange rate. Okay? To fixed exchange rate. Some countries chose to move to flexible exchange rate, okay? Free floating exchange rate. In the short run, okay, in the short run. For example, if country, adopts fixed exchange rate, flexible exchange rate, okay, where the government can use monetary policy, okay, for injection to the economy. If the country experiences, for example, recession, which means that potential, this is potential output, this one is output, okay? If the economy experiences recession, on the flexible exchange rate regime, country can reduce interest rate, yes? Or they can print money to the economy in order to increase consumption, in order to increase investment in the economy, to run the businesses again, right? Interest rate, they can do it. And other way, at the same time, on the flexible exchange rate, the government can influence on nominal exchange rate to depreciate. Interest rates are reduced in order to increase investment in the economy, right? So then those companies, they will start again working properly. They will pay wages, they will be consuming more, aggregate demand will increase and their own will recover. And plus, on the flexible exchange rate, they are able to reduce exchange rate, depreciate the currency. By that one, if there was trade deficit, they will be able to avoid the trade deficit because now goods and services in this country are cheaper, they will be selling more. Export opportunity. Okay? This is on the flexible exchange rate. What about on the fixed exchange rate? On the fixed exchange rate, both of these tools are not possible to practice. So let me give you one example. For example, let's suppose in Germany, which is, their currency today is euro, yes? Euro area. So now you know that there are 19 countries, okay, 19 countries, which consider euro as their own currency. It's 9 countries. Of course, there are 27 members of EU. There are 8 other members they have their own currencies. Okay? But 19 their currencies are euro, including Germany. For example, if in Germany, one person wants to buy some good, all right? The person may find that good from Germany itself, all right? If that person is not able to buy that good from Germany or service, okay, definitely they will be able to find it from other 18 members, which is available. Which means that in Eurozone, that currency zone, okay, there is no need for US dollars. If you have euro, it's enough, you can buy anything. Which means that there is no demand for foreign currency, yeah? Okay, but there is one very different thing. For example, let's consider if you are an investor, if you have $1, one euro, if you would like to take it and put it under your pillow, it's not going to be good, investment decision, right? Because it's going to be idle money, which is not generate any profit. One, if you are an investor, you are going to invest it to the business, or at least you will invest it you buy some bonds, yes? If you buy some German bonds, okay, by the end of the year, this 1 euro is going to increase by that interest rate, yes? 1%, 2%, whatever. It's the case. This is here, interest rate. But Germans, even though they don't need any other countries, goods and services, all right, they will find other countries' interest rate very attractive. Okay? Let's suppose in the UK, if it was, let's say, 2% in Germany, interest rate, but in UK it's 5%. For German investors, okay, it will be very interesting. Oh, now it seems that buying from UK is going to generate more money, right? That person, instead of buying local bonds, domestic bonds, that person is going to buy for that 1 euro British bonds. Is he able to buy with euros? No. So what he has to do, he has to convert this euro into pounds, yes, with nominal exchange rate, yes? This is the value, exchange rate. And using this pound money, that person is able to buy that bond, which is going to generate that much interest, right? By then, 5% or 10%, whatever. And at the end, what that person is going to do, if he wants that money back to Germany, he's going to convert it again to that euro with that current exchange rate, yes, with that plus of interest of a foreign country. Is it going, that is exchange rate, is it going to remain same? It's a big question whether that one is flexible or fixed exchange rate regime, okay? Because, if it happens that value of euro may appreciate. So then, at this time, it should be divided by expected exchange rate of the next period. Okay, next period. How can you explain? So it explains the parity, which is very important. So Lord, interest rate of domestic country is equal, should be to interest rate offered in a foreign country, nominal exchange rate over expected exchange rate. This is called interest rate parity condition. Okay? This is very important. Very important. So, in this case, if domestic interest rate is high, if it's high, investors will be willing to invest into domestic economy. If it's high in a foreign country, they will be willing to invest to foreign economy. So which means that if those fluctuations in interest rate, okay, makes, it causes fluctuations in exchange rate. How? For example, in this case, when there was high return for German investors, there will be high demand for pound. And it means that pound will appreciate. If pound appreciates, what happens in the medium run? If pound appreciates, goods and services in UK is going to be expensive, right? And for British people buying from Germany, it will be cheap. As a result, they will be bringing their pounds, converting into euros and buying German goods and services. If they do that, there is high demand for euro, and it will lead to appreciation of euro, and it will be adjusting each other. Okay? On the flexible exchange rate, current exchange rate and expected exchange rate may change anytime. There is very high volatility. Okay? Very high volatility. But on the fixed exchange rate, how do we usually choose fixed exchange rate? So it should be chosen, the government, central bank should choose one exchange rate, okay, which is going to be very optimal. So they should consider today's and future exchange rates. And they have to choose one, okay, which is going to control all of them. So then they have to come up with one exchange rate. In fixed exchange rate, this one and this one is same, which means that it's equal to 1 on the fixed exchange rate, okay? And you can see that what really impacts on the exchange rate is interest rates of the economies. Therefore, once economy, for example, Eurozone, if they are now for its fixed exchange rate, if they give its fixed exchange rate, their interest rates must be equal. If one, is going to fluctuate, it will lead to trade imbalance. One country's, trade will be increasing while the others will be decreasing. It will be like imbalance, okay? Okay? So, regarding real exchange rate, which you already know, that real exchange rate is equal to nominal exchange rate price, domestic price over foreign price, yes? Okay. Now again, you consider flexible exchange rate. Under flexible exchange rate, floating exchange rate, okay, government can reduce nominal exchange rate, okay, and by that one they reduce real exchange rate. By that one, government can increase its export because goods are cheaper now. Or government, if it's not going to touch it at all, government can influence to the economy and reduce the price. It's also possible in the case of flexible exchange rate. Again, reducing that exchange, that real exchange rate. Okay? But on the fixed exchange rate, changing this one is impossible. And effecting on price is also based on monetary system is not also possible in the short run. But in the medium run, the economy will adjust by itself. How? For example, let's suppose in one country, real exchange rate is very high. Okay? If it's very high, the economy will experience trade deficit, right? This is potential level of income, this is, and the economy may experience this kind of recession, right? When economy is under recession, people will reduce consumption, yes? People, they don't have money to buy. It will lead to, if there is less demand, the prices in the economy will go down in the medium run, okay? Which means that in here, even though nominal exchange rate is not effective at all, the prices will go down naturally by itself, okay? And as a result of this one, real exchange rate will go down. And recovery again will start. Okay? On the other extreme, let's say, for example, the economy is booming, right? Booming. Completely vice versa will happen. The prices will go up in this country on the fixed exchange rate, okay? And real exchange rate will go up. So which means that goods and services in this country is going to be more expensive. And this economy again will be following that potential outlook. Okay? Because now they are not able to sell their goods and services internationally. Alright? Okay. So, and you can see that if you consider output with all of those, fluctuation of exchange rate, we see that appreciation of real exchange rate has very strong negative impact on output. Okay? Good. This one I explained. This one too. Good. So look, we said under fixed exchange rate, it is price, yes, under recession, prices in the economy will go down, right, will go down, and real exchange rate will go down, trade, surplus, that the country will start again exporting. When it is, in surplus, boom time, prices will go up, and real exchange rate is going to go up, and again, trade is going to be going down. It's like this. But let's suppose the economy is somewhere here, right? We are saying that it's going to adjust by itself, but sometimes in practice, in the medium run, it's not possible, it's impossible to reach. It will take too long time. We know in theory it's going to work like this, but in practice it may take too long time, okay? Because people, they are feeling all of this pain in the economy, all right? What will they do? Then there will be very strong arguments raised. One, they will say, if you are not able, if central bank or government is not able, to, control this real exchange rate, whatever, that fixed exchange rate, now we are experiencing this problem because of fixed exchange rate. Now, they would say, if you are not able to, properly operate, then change the exchange rate regime into flexible. Change. Why? If they change flexible into flexible exchange rate, then they will have one more tool for fighting recession, which is monetary. They will be reducing interest rate, okay, where it's impossible. Yes? They can reduce interest rate, just expansionary policy. They can print more money as expansionary policy, okay, to the economy in order to recover. Or, which countries they are less willing to do. Okay? Or another thing is, if it's the case like this, even though its real exchange rate, where a nominal exchange rate is not allowed, it's not allowed to be changed, yes. These countries, they may decide to devalue their currency artificially. For example, they will devalue it, okay? And they will devalue their currency. It's called devaluation, okay? Devaluation. I think you know. So when it's inflexible exchange rate, when currency becomes strong, it is called appreciation of currency, right? If it becomes weak, it is called depreciation. In fixed exchange rate, if currency becomes strong, it means that revaluation of currency. If it becomes weak, it means devaluation of currency. Okay? So you should know that difference. So they will devalue. They will. At least one time devaluation in order to avoid this shock. To give some nation has very strong negative consequences it may cause. Let's suppose who is really worried about devaluation is investors, okay? Investors. Let me give the case of Mexico. In early 1970s, after 1994, once Mexico, joined to NAFTA, yes, the trade agreement, yes, the free trade area. Then after that they joined, there was huge investment inflow to the country, okay? Mexicans were receiving FDI, and certain conflicts happened in Mexico. And then investors, they became a bit pessimistic about, Mexican economy, and they started pulling their investment back. Okay? When investors invested into Mexican economy, they were bringing US dollars, converting to Mexican peso, and then they were investing this peso to local economy. Okay? When those conflicts happened in Mexico, some of those investors, they were bringing this peso to foreign exchange rate market, exchanging it into US dollars and taking it back. Because Mexico, they had fixed exchange rate regime, they were paying it back. Alright? 1 peso was equal to, I think, $1 was equal to 16 pesos. They were paying back. But, that once it happened, okay, and when it was happening like this, Mexican government, they made commitment. Look, when economy experiencing, if the economy was going under recession, they were experiencing recession because of that one. In this recession, investors who are very good analysts of the market, they will expect that this country is on the fixed exchange rate, they will devalue their currency. What's the problem with devaluation for Mexico for investors? When they brought their US dollar, for example, they brought 1 US dollar was equal to 16 pesos, okay? If they want to devalue their currency, they will make 1 US dollar, for example, equal to 32 pesos, 50%, with 100% devaluation, right? So which means that for those pesos that they have, they are able to buy only half of those investments they have made. Which investors, they don't like at all. Okay? So they were expecting that in Mexico it will happen, but Mexican government, they said, we are not going to devalue the currency, okay? But Mexican, the investors, they will bring in those pesos to foreign exchange rate markets, and as a result, supply of peso increase. Okay? Supply of peso increase in foreign exchange market. If supply of peso increases, is there any demand for peso? Now, there is no demand, right? So therefore, because it is fixed exchange rates, there must be some shift in demand for peso. which usually it is Mexican central bank, should shift this demand. They have to buy that extra pesos available. Otherwise, the currency will devalue. Okay? Because too much available. Central bank, how do they buy it? They will bring US dollars and exchange it for pesos. Take it back. If they don't have US dollars, then they will bring their gold reserves. They buy dollars, then get it. So at that time, Mexican central bank government, they were running on dollars and gold reserves, okay? As a result, they were then at the end, they decided to devalue the currency. They made devaluation in order to just help the economy to make a real exchange rate, devalue the currency and export more. But this devaluation led to fixed exchange rate crisis in Mexico. It made the situation so bad. Within 1 year, Mexican economy was on their knees, as we say. So bad, okay? It made it like this. Okay? European monetary system. European monetary system. This is another case, okay? Once Bretton Woods Agreement in 1971 ended, all right? European countries where trade between countries was affected negative because they were trading based on those US fixed exchange rate. Then those European members of the European countries, they said, let's make our own kind of monetary system, which is called the European monetary system. Under that one, all of those European countries, they had their currency to each other's currency. 1 pound is equal, for example, to a German franc, or some other they did it like this. Or Italian lira, 1 Italian lira is just 2 francs per lira, like this. Okay. They made it like this, as it was in Bretton Woods. And they considered there was no, any currency equivalent to gold at this time. But they considered, British franc as benchmark currency. And they started, trading nicely. Trade was going good, well. But what happened after the collapse of Soviet Union? There was West Germany and East Germany, right? And they reunified these two countries, right? They became one country again. And this West and East Germany reunified, where it was, among these countries, they were following this strict interest rate parity condition. They were following. All interest rates were same between these countries, not changing. Okay? Look, once these two countries reunified, what happened? Immediately, consumption increased in the economy. Okay? If you consider output, consumption has increased because there was more demand. 1. Plus, because Western economy was more developed, Eastern part of Germany was less developed, where the financial system, most of the infrastructure was very different. West Germany, they made significant investment, which increased investment. Okay, investment. Plus, government was implementing fiscal policy to help this part. Okay? Government spending also increased. Which means that you can see that output of Germany started growing. Okay? After reunification. But this growth was unhealthy growth. It was growing and it was leading to very high inflation. Inflation rate was also growing. Germany, in that history, it's one country which experienced one of the highest hyperinflations in 1920s, right? They know the pain of that hyperinflation already. So then, Germany, that because of these factors, they decided, even though changing interest rate is not allowed, they decided to increase interest rate. Contractionary policy. Okay? Contractionary policy. While all other members, which have to keep it same, if they want to follow, keep that interest rate parity condition same, they also increase their interest rates. They also. Is there any difference between other members and Germany? There is very big difference. What difference is that one? In Germany now, output is growing, inflation is growing. In other countries, there isn't any this kind of sign, okay? There isn't. These countries, for Germany, is good thing, but for other countries, it is contractionary. It is going to lead to recession. Interest rates high, there will be less investment in the economy, right? Because of this one, all other members, they were starting experiencing recession. Okay, recession. Investors were very pessimistic about these countries. Some countries which were not, they were feeling very bad pain of this one, they said, we are out of EMS. We are not anymore in this group. For example, UK left. Okay? Some countries, they were like friends, they were still keeping it and keeping high interest rates. And that high interest rate really slowed down the economies. Okay? So therefore, disparity, because disparity was not followed properly. Okay? So this one is important. Okay. If you are feeling sleepy, you know that how to feel not sleepy, right? You can ask your friends favor. So, interest parity condition. Interest rate, domestic interest rate equal to foreign interest rate times nominal exchange rate over expected interest rate. So if we multiply both sides by expected interest rate and divide it to this factor, we will get nominal interest rate is equal to domestic interest rate over foreign interest rate times expected exchange rate. Right? It's like this. We will get this. Okay. Under flexible exchange rate regime, anything in here may change. For example, you can write that expected exchange rate will be equal to expected interest rate of next year, which may change. In flexible exchange rate regime, it's no problem, it may change. And expected foreign interest rate, it may change. And at the same time, because it's flexible, the following years, exchange rate may also change. Regarding that of year 2, the nominal interest rate, okay, you can write as second year, okay, which is going to be equal to the interest rate of the second year, which is expected, or the interest rate of expected for the the international foreign interest rate for the second year times the following year's exchange rate, P plus 3. So you can write it for that. Okay? So which means here, this one is equal to this. Or this one is equal to this. If you write it as a generalized formula, you can write it like this. So this is nominal exchange rate in flexible exchange rate regime follows this kind of equation. So which means that there are so many changes may happen. Which means that there is very high likelihood of volatility in this type of economies, okay, exchange rate. Any change may be happen. But what about in fixed? This is equal to 1, right? The only condition is that interest rate should be kept same, okay? Not to have problems like in Germany and other European countries. Okay? So if you consider you make a choice between flexible and fixed exchange rate regimes, right? You have already seen that on the fixed exchange rate regime, right? On the fixed country loses that monetary tool, monetary policy. They are not able to increase interest rates or reduce that the exchange rate of a country in the case of recession or in the case of trade deficit. Okay. And on the other hand, devaluation of currency, as in the case of Mexico, okay, may lead to crisis, exchange rate crisis. It's another one. But the problem is flexible exchange rate mainly is its volatility, high volatility. Okay. And there is almost consensus among those economists, okay, monetary economists, okay, where they say flexible exchange rate is much better than fixed one. In Uzbekistan now we are implementing flexible exchange rate regime, right? We used to have fixed exchange rate regime. After the collapse of Soviet Union, we decided to make it fixed. What do you think? Was it a wise, good decision to make it fixed? At the beginning. And we have kept it almost 30 years. Yes? Actually, when it happened, it was a good decision. Okay? Fixed exchange rate regime sometimes is preferred. For example, once after the collapse of Soviet Union, all 15 states, okay, of the Soviet Union, they were all weak. Uzbekistan included, very weak economy, okay, not stable. Where Central Bank of Uzbekistan was not, credible, trustworthy for international bodies, other countries. For example, if it's the economy is weak and Central Bank is not trusted, investors do not invest to that economy. Do not, if it's flexible. But even though it's like this, if government makes commitment to keep fixed exchange rate seriously, okay, not change it, investors will invest. Because it's fixed, investors, they will see, if I am investing today, when I want to take money back, that fact that exchange rate is not going to fluctuate, I can take it in full and go back home. They will see that. Because it's most probably one reason when some investors, like Daewoo of Korea and some other, they invested, maybe they found that fixed exchange rate interesting for them, one time. Okay? All right. And another thing, fixed exchange rate practice is very good and nice on the countries being economically integrated. European Union, 27 countries. So now, these 27 countries, they are practicing fixed exchange rate among each other. Why? In order to have good trade with one another. Okay? With one another. If they are not going to follow the fixed exchange rate regime, there will be trade imbalance between the countries. Okay? So therefore, if it's the case like EU, fixed exchange rate among its members is very good thing. Okay? Very good thing. Okay? Just a little bit. So regarding Robert Mundell, the Nobel Prize winner, okay? He gave the idea of the common currency area. Common currency area. So, and he said, according to him, common currency area should, map two conditions. First one, countries, okay, those countries, common currency area countries, should experience similar shocks. Shocks should be similar in the economy. And the second one, if countries they experience different shocks, even though there is different shocks, they must have high factor mobility like labor mobility in the economy. Okay? Let's consider United States and Euro. EU. Is it common currency area, Euro area? Does it meet both conditions of Mandel? It doesn't meet any of them. Okay? Because one condition, they have to experience similar shocks. Do this, all of these members, they experience similar shocks? All of them different. Okay? What about labor mobility? Is there labor mobility among these nations? There is, but statistics shows that there isn't. Okay? It's if there is high recession in Spain, Spanish people, for them it's no problem. They go to any European countries, ethnicity, whatever. People are not highly mobile. Both conditions are not met. We can say it's not common currency areas. In the case of United States, what about in the case of US? Both of them are met? Again, no. One of them is not met. First one. Because different states, they have different policies. And different states, they have different type of economic conditions. Okay? So they experience differently. But in the United States, the second condition is met. There is high mobility of labor. If in Mexico, because of the oil price reduction prices, if they go through recession, people from Mexico, they go to other states. Easily problem can solve. Another thing, in the United States, they have one fiscal policy. If one state is experiencing recession, government can inject to this one, increase government spending. Okay? But in EU zone, there isn't fiscal policy implemented for all. Okay? And there are, I wanted to say some other, maybe we can discuss it during the seminar. Okay? During the seminar, we have lots of things to do. So, ready? Okay? Yeah, we are done. Thank you for coming.